What's up, YouTube? This is Nick from Maven. Today we're going to talk about some basic groove extraction techniques. I'm sure you've all, or a lot of you have heard of this little feature right here where you can actually extract the groove from a piece of audio, a drum loop, or anything really. But the limit to that is when you extract a groove from, a whole drum loop like I have here, you get every hit, every transient gets factored into the groove that Ableton comes up with. So a nice technique is to actually isolate each element of the groove from every other element. For example, the kicks, the snares, and the hi-hats all separately. This is something I picked up from my friend Wiggy Module Octopus, a fellow teacher at Maven. And what he does and what I've started to do is going in and putting in warp markers on every single hit of each different drum type. So for example here, you see I've got warp markers on every kick drum. But I'm actually going to start with the hi-hats, and I'm going to show you how to pull out the groove of just those individual components. Okay, so I have all my hi-hat warp markers set. So the next step is to select Slice to New MIDI Track and make sure it's set to create one slice per warp marker. And we'll just call this hats. So now we have MIDI data for wherever the hi-hat is playing, and you can see it's not quite on the grid, it's a little off in certain places, and that's what's going to give us that very human feel. So now I'm going to left click and click extract groove. You see down here in our groove pool we've got our groove. Just rename it hats. Next step is to do our snares, and as you can see I've already got warp markers set up on all the snare hits. So let's go ahead and splice this to MIDI. Slice, not splice. And now we've got MIDI data for our snare hits. But what we want to do, and remember, is delete this first one because that's a kick. That's just the start of this sample. That warp marker is always going to be there. So now, same thing. We go extract groove. And we've got our snare groove down in the groove pool. And the last step, let's get our kicks. All the kicks are there, so now we do the same thing. Slice to New MIDI Track. And you already know what's next. Extract the groove. There we go, all three of our grooves are extracted. So now what can we do with this? Here's a little example. I've got 3 drum racks set up, each one with a sample on it. And what I've done is I've basically just dragged these MIDI tracks, these MIDI files now, from the groove pool directly onto the tracks, and you see it just puts in the MIDI note. So now if we go and play this, these MIDI notes are now playing the exact drum groove that we had in the original sample, except now applied to these little drum samples. So this can be a really good technique if you're looking for, a very human feel to whatever you're producing. Just go into your music library, find a nice drum loop or a song with a good groove that you like, extract it, and try to apply it to your own thing. That's all I've got for today. Thank you very much for tuning in, and be sure to hit up mavenagency.com for information about classes and events.